Robert Maytwayashing is Anishinaabe, raised in his people on the Lake Manitoba First Nation in Manitoba's Interlake region. Robert is a pipe carrier and a sweat lodge keeper. He also attends the annual ceremony of Sundance and has hosted warrior lodges and eagle dances.
Bonjour, ndinaway maganetuk. Songigabo miskumashkotebishekindegu makondutem. Nimiskumashkotebisheke ogicheta. Shigume megwesi windiukan njechak. Akweta singap mimigwet chemawa sema ibin na magwan minogeni nomgagi shek. Pangigeni gabi sheknama goiz anjep metivachewan. Aningenin yegan schnabe yan. Yes, saugan schnabe yang anin agish mami negoiz yang. Nitashe nom wap metashin raman. Nittamego ibe shegoash obemates manitun gip minis senat obematesi. Pijentas kiane ni yok nittamego obematesi ni yek ni witashna tashin ramok. Aninge we no manitun gajamami negoiz yot gajamami negoat. Shigo aninga isetago penman daguat ogonen chonjanaga chettuat anin kine uchonje menosek. Mita shakwe omangap mishagana shimakina yejepin sattoit. Good day, my relatives. I just shared with you that my traditional name is Strong Standing Red Buffalo. I also shared with you that I'm of the Bear Clan. And I shared with you that I'm a buffalo warrior. And the spirits that guide me in my life are that we call the contrary and the little people. First off, I gave thanks for the tobacco that was offered to me in order to have the opportunity to come and share what little I know with respect to what I've had the fortune of learning from my elders. And what I want to speak to today is about the gifts and responsibilities of the four original peoples, the red, the yellow, the black, and the white, of how our great Creator had given each of these peoples a certain gift and responsibility. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And with all respect, what I'm sharing may work for you, it may not work for you. But take those things that do work for you and apply them to your life. And for those that don't work for you, just leave them. You don't need to worry about them. Because again, what I'm sharing is the worldview of my people, the Anishinaabe, the human beings. And as all the people that there are, each has their own creation story. This is part of ours, one of the chapters of our creation stories. And even amongst our own people, we have differing, although similar, creation stories. So with that, I will be reverting back into the language. I'll do a piece and then I'll go back to the English language to translate so that everybody can benefit. Because this work that's being done, I feel, is very important. It's the work that needs to happen today because in general, when it comes to this land we now call Canada, most Canadians have no clue of who we are as a people. It's only recent, more so with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission recommendations, that the non-Indigenous community is willing to listen to what we have to offer and share. And it's something that we've always done. So I say miigwech. Apanego obematis memetegen Anishinaabe ibishawen tagwese. Manitun ogishawen manin Anishinaabe. So gewin awe Anishinaabe oganik kendan gewin ye shawen jagain jitakunang. Shigo jima migiet ejiga skizet. Nittamego manito ni win obematesi ogio nasan omaking beba kandas ke ogiasan ani geina gewi no jijip matesiot. Shigo akenao yan ogi minan minigoizen. Shigo taske ogi bago seneman oganen jonjanaga chettuat akenao ya shigo akenageu shimino semagak, mi nyen wa mitashindaman. Ye, Anishinaabe yang miskus ubematis kitigumen. Ai gimine wanan manito chinisottaming. Ye gimine goisenan kichichakodanik. Mi ashi mi monch ke chinen dauk ayan uchichakon. Chigashkis it nimaniton jon chiganunat jon jappenemonatot. So kinage umagi uchichigatek. Uchichak kumagan kinage umakin. Ushke owe nukumis kainai. Uchichak kogain owe nukumis. Igek owe siak. Benes siak. Ingoak. Kinage ushke owe asin. Uchichak was it. Mitash ke ye. Ani gegi na tagisha penemontagun manito. Ye kitakinang. Kitake sagwake. Mi yegi night chunjanaga chitong. Mi wen shop beaches are when in mind go no comis. Mi ashe a penemonta one gegi night manito. Mi away chiwich shige mine. We when it's chunjanaga chang. Kinashke go on tenaming a king over beyond the semagan. Kinisete namin ye. Kimanachiana no no comis kaichigazat. Mita shakwe minoma gap mishaga nashim. Mi ye bangi chip mita sindaman. Shiguta ske ye wabang nong de ke kaunda piang. Mi ashima sugi shikizes. Mi basi quit. Mi ye kinage u chiwaba taming ye ijoisuin watagupi ton. Kitegane san chonjik ma chima kinimonje. A kid soge u mi ma waba nong de ke. So when I talk about the four races, the original four races that we as Indigenous people recognize, I shared earlier of the red, the yellow, the black, and the white. And each of these races was given a gift and a responsibility. We as the Red Nation sit in the direction of the east, where that sun rises on a daily basis. It brings its light, it brings its warmth. It helps to nurture the things that grow upon our Earth Mother. It's also a new dawn, if you will, a new chance at a new beginning, if we allow it to be as such. That is the direction of the East. And that is our responsibility as Indigenous people, is to look after our Earth Mother. That is the responsibility we have been given. Which is why whenever you see a potential threat to the Earth itself, who do you find at the forefront of that threat, trying to raise awareness of what is at stake, is the Indigenous nation. With respect to that, we've had prophecies amongst our people. Yes, as a people, we too had our own prophets. And some of the signs that we were warned about talk about the very times in which we live in today, where climate change is happening at an increasing rate. We're feeling the effects of man's abuse to the earth itself, man's disregard and disrespect to our Earth Mother, because everything we need to survive comes from her. The water we drink, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, the vehicles we drive, all the raw materials to create the world we live in today has come from the earth. It does not come from outer space, nor does it dissipate into outer space. So when we look at our Earth Mother, we recognize that and we try and nurture that relationship with her. It's supposed to be a reciprocal relationship of give and take. But again, we are only to take what we need, not what we want. Because in essence, what we take today is in fact spending the inheritance of those ones coming behind us tomorrow. We need to ensure we leave something for them. And as a people, we were given the gift of spirit. In our worldview, we believe everything has spirit. The animals, the four-leggeds, the ones that live in the waters, the winged ones, the ones that crawl within the earth, all things that are green, even the rock nation. All of these things have spirit. That is our worldview. Because our great creator had created everything, the essence of creator is within all of these things, i.e. spirit. And we as a people have the ability to work with spirit. And that's not to say any other people don't have that ability. Every race of man has that ability. But we as a people have never forgotten that relationship. And we've continued to nurture that relationship, which is why we are constantly in ceremony of one sort or another. To invoke spirit in everything that we do. Just like this morning before I started speaking here, I acknowledge this tobacco. This tobacco has a spirit. And in our teachings, tobacco always comes first when you ask an Indigenous person something. Again, it opens up that spiritual realm, and it invokes spirit to come and sit with us, to guide us, to teach us, to help us. So that's what we have as a people from the Red Nation, understanding to work with spirit and looking after the earth. Gan open mat o sign in equa. Pachang Gomez okay guyan an uchi uchi not get much at all. Where we nig wake or wake an open on a Egypt mat to see me on. Honest tan one is me, Manachi, then Giovanni, a motion kajagate. Me, we know Kajabago send me what money tone, me Gajabini what. Shotashke, ye baget nam one, we bago send me one money tone, Jonjanaga chet what. Shoge we know, ye, none got no, Kagwen and the ways is, none the way this the art. Me ye baget nam one, whatever jet tono. Where when what a chak yo, Chimushiot. Me ye, Kajimini always it gave who was I in what is our one. Me tashma no me no yen, Gapmisagana seems to mean the Bachiman me. We have our yellow brothers and sisters that sit in the direction of the south. I need to back up to the direction of the east. The east is also reflective of springtime. Now, as we move into the southern direction, that is reflective of summertime. That is where our yellow brothers and sisters sit. And they have been given the gift of understanding and working with emotion. When our yellow relatives in their natural element are very humble and very polite because that is their gift. They understand emotion. They go out of their way as to not to hurt or offend others. They understand how one's actions can impact another. They understand how one's thoughts, one's movements can impact themselves. So they're very cautious in those ways. And they've been given the responsibility of looking after the air. In a lot of their different disciplines, whether it's meditation, martial arts, or other, they've developed certain breathing exercises to help bring themselves into center, to get in touch with their own spirit and the spirit that is around them. And it's even said that some of their masters of some of their disciplines can actually move objects without touching them because they've mastered the ability to work with that air from a spiritual context. And a lot of their meditations, again, help them reach that level. I've never personally witnessed this to take place, but there I also know Western science is starting to delve in that area where they're starting to do experiments where they're able to move or levitate very small light objects using the energies of magnets for air movement and or vibrational energies again, in the movement of that air to be able to impact these very light, small objects. So, and that in itself, again, is a part of that bigger circle of life that we call it, where our yellow brothers and sisters, again, as I state, have their own responsibilities and their own gift. And then we move into the direction of the west, Nigabionung, which in that cycle of the year would be the fall time. Nigabionung mima makatewi askai chigazat nikendabit. Ayo gizi mini gun oe makate huias maniton. Ye sungi sungio inagi oe ikai kitainen. Anin keisi sungi gabuit mi ye kaisi mini gut maniton. Kanop matoe na makatewi as ya gizi mini gut apetja sungi nagusyuk mi aska je mini guat manitun mi ye wino watabat chiganyo mi ge anis wenche gashkizot apetja tap me batok ne taunj begosh konyok begos soge gu o tome nonga chigatek isi wi chot wi no ne tamigo ya octaveta mi aska je mini guat ne manitun si utashke ye ayogi pagosene me guan manitun chonje naga chettoat mi yenne pega ichigatek apeche ke chine dawat yenne pe ispen gega ne beganas ika sagwas pe mates and dayamagas no me piche ke chine daw yenne be uske ye obe mates kainent monche go yo ni bimagat yo me piche chine da okienne be mitas manu akquemeno ngonche sagana sim mi ye chipnite bachemoan mitas ye oe obe mates makatewi as kai kitot ai kito oe bejik mamandais oe makatewi as ye ni moin gaichigatek migo bejegon ye tapsku e pakana ya chimawit migo ye bejegon ashnepe bichina go agi moyot wek Anishinaabe tok agi mayot chibogi night api moyot migo ye bejegon nepe shugmino wabang owe abinoji mawit migo ye bejegon nepe ya shakino ma ne bega yamak tabe tomagi pya yamak paneoma mantuagi nagatangagi pyatut omanu kumsui oi bindagio soge mi wenche tiagwan gomes yang ye wabang nebe jisho nishing wabang ye agisho nishing bichinago mi ye kaikitotowe makatewi askewin te bach motation sutang ye ne bega chigatek ani gewin agi jibago sene me gut manitu chonje naga jettu tie ne be siguta shie ne bega tashindaman ki naite gan snabe yang ikkweyok ki dikweminanik unistotan oge no mi ye bejegon ye ne be ki no onje naga jettu tie ne be api begoge gu isetchegen inakoneging nebege ye mitasin chigate mitaswe kweminong misagana sinjip mitabacheman mi. So when we look to our relatives that sit in the direction of the west, which I stated earlier is in the seasonal calendar, fall time, but it's also with respect to the west is the setting sun. Our black relatives sit in that direction, and they have the gift of the physical. When you look at the Black nation in their natural element again. They tend to be very physically fit people, muscular, because that's their gift. That also is why they tend to excel whenever they participate in any sporting events or activities, because the physical is their gift. But again, they become even stronger still if somehow they're able to tap into that spiritual part of themselves. And with that, they've been given the responsibility of looking after the water. Water as an element is very important. As Indigenous people, we view water as something that's very sacred. Without water, there simply is no life. Even to the point where Western science, again, whenever they're exploring the possibility of life on other planets, the very first thing they look for is any evidence of water. Because if they know that water was or is present, then the possibility of life becomes greater. I've had opportunity of traveling the world and sitting in circle with other Indigenous nations. And the one time that I sat in circle with the Black people, they had their elders, for lack of a better term, that were there, sharing their understanding of the sacredness of that water. And the words that this Black elder used were these words: the water, or the tear, is a being gone, is another way we say it in our language. That tear that runs down your face is the very same tear that runs down your face. It is the same tear that has run down the faces of our ancestors, and it'll be the same tear that runs down the faces of those yet to come. For when you think about it, this gentleman said, all the water that is here upon our Earth Mother and within our Earth Mother has been here since time immemorial, since our great Creator placed it here. It does not dissipate into outer space, nor does it come from outer space. It's part of that sacred hoop, that cycle. It evaporates and falls, evaporates and falls. It's continuously going through a cleansing process, which is why this elder shared the importance of us maintaining the integrity of that water tomorrow as it was yesterday. And there again, I can tell you, as a species on this planet, we have failed miserably with respect to that understanding and responsibility of looking after that water. Even in my own short lifetime, I remember as a child growing up, I'm from the Lake Manitoba Treaty 2 First Nation, right on the shores of Lake Manitoba, where many of our people would get their water directly from the lake and use it to drink, to bathe, to wash, etc. I wouldn't dare use that water other than for maybe washing today, because the integrity of that water is questionable today. More so after they created that portage diversion, which diverts the Assiniboine River waters at flood time, springtime, in order to save Winnipeg. I've flown over the lake at several times when those floodgates are open at that portage diversion, and all you see is a black mushroom cloud entering the lake, and who knows what's all in there, to the point where we even have foreign species of fish in our lake today. So not only the integrity of the water itself, but the integrity of the organisms that live within those waters has been tainted. And when you talk about the importance of that water within our own circles as Indigenous people, it is our women that look after the water. and they have an identical understanding and appreciation and respect for that water that our black relatives do. Within our own circles is our women that will pray over the spirit of that water, because that water too has a spirit. So that is the responsibility and the gift of our relatives that sit in the direction of the west. Shiguminogietnong mi ma wapske gainit munyanit ayotisnikanan shiguminoanit pakkoishotenon. Gewin ge manitune u ugyappen monatagun. Jonjanaga jetut shkote mi yeshkote apachikchine and out. Mi mash gichichakoda requensiot mi maishkoteng. Apige guina kamis en aquanish kotegi piscanetumen. Mi manish jigashkezot at sokanek. Shogweka gina gatkiot jigashkez and jigawechimang jibi wijigabuitagun. Shotashke ye wewapshke anina gajimini got in me nemanetun. Mi ye onagatenchigan gaichigatek. Apichis ungen da otie genagatenchigan. Ispindas kichichak bisentosiot. Gitaunini gonyege nagatenchigan. Mi wenchi wangdabeta hangomisen anines chigain. Kichichak agwebisento. Usam genagatenchigan bisentagen. Ispingi chichake maishiwiche seki onik. Mi piche sungen da okie nagatenchigan gaichigatek. Ampe mi ashie muni aga jiminet. No gitaki nang akki. Omasa go akki gaichigatek nokko mesoi oin. Mi oe munia mizep miaya. Kia beo agwe mekan anin gewin manitun gaishiminigot. Anin gewin ya ke manitu aibagus senimigot jonjen agajetut. Kioni ke neochicha konoe munia te gochmi onagatenchigan uibe minishan. Mi wenchoni is it no. Mi wenchonishing. Mi wenchiga gwe mekangiabe no wendat. Kainon stetena zino wendat tomas wendat. Oma ochichako. Mi machiga wekendan. Jaga wensitan. Aninge winchi natesetie hagishimini utmanitun. Mi etas manuch kwemenonga unchisagan ashim. Mi chipmite bache moana we munia agishimini uizetsuani gaisha penemonta utmanitun. Our white brothers and sisters that sit in the direction of the north again reflective of that winter season, have been given the gift of the mind. The mind is a very powerful aspect of the human experience. So powerful, in fact, you could have a perfectly physically fit individual convince themselves that they're sick, to where an illness will actually manifest itself in that person's body. That's how powerful the mind can be. Our elders always remind us the greatest journey the human being will ever make in their life is from here, the mind, to here, their spirit. I always akin it to the little devil on one shoulder and a little angel on the other shoulder. When you're about to do something, you know in your heart, within your spirit, that what you're about to do isn't positive. Somehow your mind will convince you, do it anyway, and you do it. And then of course there's always repercussions because of that. That's why our elders tell us we need to learn to listen to this. That little devil and that little angel. We need to learn that little angel more so than the little devil. The devil will get us into trouble. And those are Christian concepts I'm sharing here, the angel and the devil, but I'm just trying to put it in language where people will understand better. For us, it's the negative and the positive. Positive always comes from here, and here too. if it's grounded here. If it's not, this thing will lead you away. It'll take you right off the track. And that's the gift of our white brothers and sisters. And they were given the responsibility of looking after the fire. The fire within our own teachings as Indigenous people is something very special. Whenever we have ceremony, one of the very first things we'll do is we'll light that fire, because the fire is the gateway to the spirit world. We always have what we call a sacred fire present whenever we're in ceremony, or if we need to commune with our relatives, our ancestors, the spirits, we'll light that fire. We'll offer tobacco into that fire. We'll offer feast food into that fire. We'll offer cloth offerings into that fire. These are the kinds of things that we put into that fire. And of course, along with our prayers, because that fire is the gateway to the spiritual realm. And when you look at the world we live in today, it's our white brothers and sisters that, again, with no disrespect, I'm simply sharing what I've seen and what my people have experienced, is our white brothers have used their minds to manipulate that fire to meet their needs. And that's okay. The trouble, though, there is our white brothers and sisters forgot to include the spiritual part of that fire in a lot of the things that they created. The very world we live in today is fueled by a certain energy for the most part. And the name we give that energy is electricity. What is electricity? Electricity is fire, and in particular, a blue fire. Much like the very blue fire that's within each and every one of us. It is said we each have a little blue fire within us, spirit. That is that connection. Again, that connection to that spiritual realm. You don't believe me? Let's look at Western medicine as an example. If somebody presents at a health facility with cardiac issues, what's the first thing they do? Don't they put all kinds of monitors on your body? And they're measuring something. What are they measuring? They're measuring the electrical current flowing through your body in relation to the function of your heart. Again, what is electricity? Fire. So there is a fire within us as human beings, like there's a fire within all that is alive. That is the gift of our white brothers and sisters. Everything that we use is fueled by electricity. The very lights being used here today, the cameras, the building that we live in, the raw materials to create a lot of these materials, I'm guessing fire was involved. Even our modes of transportation in their different forms, planes, trains, automobiles, and rocket ships, all fueled by the internal combustion engine, again, fire. So I've given you a very quick viewpoint, if I can call it that, with respect to us as Indigenous people and how we see the other races of people as part of that bigger human family. That each originally was given a certain gift and responsibility to be shared with all the other races so that all mankind and all that is could benefit. It's only recently where we as Indigenous people have been allowed to share these very stories. Because for the longest time in this country, the very things we're talking about here today were forbidden. If we were caught sharing the very things I've talked about today, I could be fined, imprisoned, or both. And then there was also times where people were simply executed for simply sharing world knowledge from an Indigenous viewpoint and perspective. So within all that, the other thing you will notice is Maytwayashing ang gitaswan kay chagatek. Misakamike guisha bang sinima niwen ang gitaswan. Owe obimatis onen ejiga shkeza to obimatis o chichakon onagatenchegan omushowen. Shobe ejiga donike omushowen o chichakon onagatenchegan. Donike. I'm forgetting in the language the four properties. Oh, right. Oio. There we go. Yes. So the four properties that make up the human being is the physical, the mental, the spiritual, and it's only recently where Western science and medicine has acknowledged the spiritual, where even the scientists today are starting to say, hey, there's something to the spirit stuff, because it has a play too in the overall picture of things. And even with respect to Western medicine, they're finding that somebody that's spiritually inclined and connected tend to heal faster and quicker. Is that double speak? But anyway, you get my drift. So the number 4 plays out with respect to what makes up the human being. And then you also have the 4 elements that make up all life. In kinagegu bimatisin wenjiga skimagak. Wenjiga ski magak. Nipe pagitinamuin akke shigushkote. The 4 elements that make up all life: earth, air, water, and fire. Take any one of these elements out of the equation, life as we know it ceases to exist. So there again, you see the significance of all these different elements. I talked about in the teaching that I just gave, the 4 directions, the 4 cardinal directions. Waba nung negabyo nung waba nung shawa nung negabyo nung yetenung. East, south, west, and north. I talked about the 4 seasons that we have. Sigon, Niben, Tagogong, Shobibon. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. So you're starting to see just how significant the number 4 is amongst many of our teachings. Many things fall within that sacred number 4. So in essence, this is what I wanted to share when I was asked to come and speak today. And again, of what I shared, what works for you, use it in your own life. And what doesn't work for you, you could just leave it. You don't need to use it or worry about it or think about it. And that is the way our people have always been. We've openly and freely shared our knowledge that we've gained over eons upon eons of living here upon our earth. We've freely and openly shared these things because we see the benefit of more people understanding those things, that it's going to benefit all that was, is, and will be. That is how we, as Anishinaabe people, contribute to the rest of the world. And with that, I will say miigwech. Again, miigwech min nemgi gashke zanama nom bangi chipmete pacheman. Ani ganin gabi jikanama goisian. Begista skegin kagwen sat taman yemin keguma nom gabi tivacheman. So gegin chaba jetton gibemate seeing. Where when again chip me I remember again the work sky akabayo tonche. Miigwech. So again, I thank you for the opportunity, for the teachings that I shared. I hope you're able to apply them into your life. And in essence, we really need to take that approach for the sake of the ones coming behind us. Miigwech. Thank you.